Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today, here we are starting the DPT03 deck profile, and what I'm going to start with is actually the flagship dragon, Flagburg dragon. So it's a new right line available for Stoicheia, and we have multiple attacks in a different way. We don't need to have a unit stay at the back row, and they can still do multiple attacks. But with Flagburg, there's a lot of things that we starting to feel different about multiple attacks, like the timing to do it, and compared to Magnolia, you first need to attack with your Vanguard and then gain the actual multiple attacks, unless you have the Fox. But with Flagburg, you usually attack him with him like the last unit you have for attack. Maybe sometimes different, but at least the way to play the deck is different from Magnolia. And I'm going to talk to you about the list and then how I playtest through some matches, which one of them you already see them online. I posted already. If you haven't watched it, you can check that out. It's one of my testing match, and I actually practice quite a lot to get there, so it requires us some time to actually learn what the deck do, and in order to actually get into the deck and have fun with it. So let's start with the right line. We are completely using the new right line with starter, nothing too special, but just using the one that within the right line. And then I have the in-row shooter, which if you have your ascendance assault to right on top of him, you can just call him from your soul, which is very nice because when your Vanguard is Flagbird or Ascendance Assault, he can gain intercept and plus 2k. Even though my whole day is playing against different brand gate builds, but this card usually becomes very useful, especially early game, because he can be a 10k attacker, can be a 10k booster. So when you run onto your grade 2, even if you're going second, when your opponent is on grade 2, this card can still hit, which is very important because you do want to give your opponents early pressure. And even with anything, or even if you're going first, but if this is as a 10k and then you have an 8k boost behind him, then at least he can hit 18k, which even if your opponents get a defensive trigger, you can still hit. And the intercept part, I don't actually care about this too much, but might come in handy sometimes because extra 5k shield still better, and your opponents will still look into attacking it so that you won't simply get more shield value or maybe retired. But to me, I don't run any extra in the main deck, so doesn't matter too much. And then Ascendance Assault, he is a very interesting card. So he gives you two options. Normally, when your Flagbird Dragon run on top of this, or basically any unit, but usually you would just use Flagbird, you can Soul Blast one and call this card from your soul. But if you prefer to show your opponents a Flagbird or Emerald Shooter from your hand, you can call this card out from your soul without paying another Soul Blast cost, because this Soul Blast cost needs to be another card that is not this card. So you cannot like write your Flagbird and Soul Blast this and call this out. That's not happening. You need to actually Soul Blast another card and then call this one yourself. But if you show your opponents one of these from your hand, then you can call him out from soul for free, which helps a lot. But sometimes don't force yourself to do that, because sometimes you don't want to show your opponents you have another person right ready, because this will be some information, especially when you are in a build like mine. There's no more in-row shooter in your main deck, only Flagbird. So whenever you show it, means you're telling your opponents I am going to personal right next turn. So this will give them information to attack you harder or give you that resources. So even if you're personal right, you can't do a lot of stuff. But it's up to you. Like whenever you want to show, or you prefer to soul blast another card and call him out, that's also okay. And just a little spoiling, this deck will focus on the usage of soul. So there are times that I do have a Flagburg Dragon, I choose to soul blast another card from my soul and call this out, which you will see very soon why. But it is an option. And again, don't force yourself to use the skill. Then entering Flagburg, which of course in our main deck we have 3 more for personal right, and for getting him out for free. For with Flagburg now, he mainly just got 1 skill, but depending on how many times you already attacked and up to, including this one, the effects will be different. So when this unit attacks the Vanguard as a Vanguard, you counterblast 1, and if you are like in this turn, if you attack 3 times, including this, then you can draw 1. If it's 4 or more, choose 2 of your opponent's regards and retire. And if you can get to 5 or even more, then during the battle this unit will get plus 10k, and when your opponents need to guard from hand, they need to call 3 cards at the same time. So it's a great guard restrictions, and the plus 10k covers defensive trigger because you do need to attack with your other units first before you attack with your Flagburg. So even if your opponents get a 10k defensive trigger, you can at least be the same number and ask them to draw more cards to guard. But same as your Ascendant Assault, don't try to force yourself to go for 5 attacks every single time. That's what I learned very, very hard, especially when I first tried the deck. Of course, I want to know how easy I can reach 5 attacks, but when I did actually more and more, I actually find out 3 to 4 attacks usually can do the job. Even though this means your Flagburg will only be 13k, but that's good enough sometimes. If you really need to push like damage through when your opponent is on like 4 damage, on 5 damage, and you really want to end the game, then you can plan for 5th attack and go there. But if your opponent is like 1 or 2 damage, I don't see it worth to go that far. You rather save resources in your hand even for guarding, or when you push enough, then you start plan all those 5 attacks and get there, get the win. Because there are times that I actually go for like 3 attacks while I have 1 regard standing, then I draw 1 and then I put all the powers to the regard. This gives me room to actually pressure my opponent a lot more. And if I need to retire 2 more units, then I can simply just go for 4th attack and still maybe let 1 regard standing, so I can just leave some power to my regards, which I can boost them up to. Then that will be more threatening. Yeah. Okay, so next, another 3 more Ascendant Assaults, because I have only explained one of the skill, which is on right, but now let's also talk about his second skill, which is once per turn on Vanguard Circle, if your other regards attack the Vanguard, and if your Vanguard is a Flagburg Dragon, you can counterblast 1 and stand this card. So he's creating multiple attacks sources for you, and if you have like 2 like this kind of formation right here, you attack with 1, you can attack with 1, counterblast 1, stand this, attack, counterblast 1, stand with this, and attack, then you have your 5 attacks. It's just that simple if you just want the numbers, but do remember, they are only 10Ks. They are only 10Ks, so you might not be able to hit that much stuff without personal riding, and that's why in the deck I do put other resources to pump his power to make sure he can hit something. But he is one of your main multiple attackers every standard, but do remember he used counterblast, which is same as the Flagburg, so they will be the key counterblast resources that you will use so much in a match. So do make sure you know how many damage you want to take, you can take, and plan your attacks from there. Because as I said before, with Flagburg you don't always need to go for 4 or 5th time attack. You can just go for 3 and just withstand once will do sometimes. So make sure you control your resources well and don't get like damage denied, resources locked by your opponents, so you can't do anything. You do want to do anything you want every single turn. And then next is another new card, which is the Aggress Blue Dragon. So instead of counterblasting, this card Soul Blast to withstand. But the condition is when this card attacks the rearguard and battle ends. If your Vanguard is a Flagbird, Soul Blast 1 withstand this unit. So he helps you to clear rearguards, but if you are facing like Meteor or other units that simply can gain power, that's a hard time for him to actually hit. But he doesn't have to hit, he just needs to attack rearguards. So maybe you waste an attack, but at least you can get a withstand just by Soul Blasting. And as I keep mentioning, this deck is like focusing on using souls, so I can put all my counterblast resources on these two, and this is one of the key card that use soul and not wasting the counterblast, so we can save counterblast for these. And even without ascending assault, you can still kind of get 3-4 attacks from it, so it's a very good card and very key. And then next, I am running one of the coffin shooting. He is another card that you soul, but at least he can come out just by soul blasting and binding one order for free. So you can just play him out, let him die, and then bring him back. Because this card deck can sometimes losing attackers very easily because your key withstanders are grade 2s and your opponents like to kill them, finish them off. So at least you can bring yourself something that can hit grade 2s or below, clearing some intercepts for you, and still kind of secure you to be able to attack 3 times and at least one kind of valid hit is very important. Yeah. And next is this new card again, but her name is quite long. It's like Blooming Petal Carophilus. So she is the key and the main soul charging source for your deck, because when she appears on regular circles, if your soul is 0, soul charge 2, which this card helps me so much against a prison matchup, because I always need to consider use soul or use counterblast to get my units, but counterblast need to save for these, and this use soul, so anything that can come up for free and then gain souls, which is very, very important. And you can see some combos that I have with this card to manage myself to clean my soul and then soul charge 2 back and then save the souls for like aggressive blue dragon to do what I really want to do, to basically use all the effects. And another card that use counterblast and soul, which is a high rate burst dragon. So when this card appears on Vanguard Circle, if Vanguard is a Flagburg Dragon, you can choose one of your other Vanguard and during the turn they get the following skill. If that unit attacks, if it's the first battle, you can counterblast on Soul Blast 1 and stand this unit. So even without these, you can still kind of create multiple attackers, but the problem is I don't always find a lot of resources to actually use for this skill. So at first I try a 3 to 4, but now I'm cutting to 2. It's like if I really need that, I do have the time to wait for it, so it's fine. And I have ways to bring it back, and a lot of times I even just put him out when I'm on grade 1 turn to attack, or when I'm going to grade 2, and I just simply put him down to attack. Don't worry too much. Just put him out as an attacker and go for it. And then free of the prize trident, so he's one of your counter charge resource and soul filling resources. So you can see I put a lot of effort on filling the soul. This is basically our only way to counter charge. We do have the promo, but I don't have that in hand, so and that need to boost by something else, and a lot of things happen, so I'd rather not use that card. And this card, as long as your other unit attacks, and if the fifth battle, put him in the soul and counter charge 1. So very key, but 4 is still a little bit reckless because you do want to counter charge, but as I said, I don't want to push myself to always do 5 attacks. So if I'm not doing that much, meaning there are a lot of chances that he's just stood there menacingly and not doing anything. So I still want enough, so I'm cutting 1 to 3, which so far is working great for me. And he is also another card that you can simply just put him down early game to early rush, because whenever you can get to 5 attack, and if he still remains on the field, you can still counter charge, so it doesn't matter too much. And speaking about power adjustment, I have 3 Mantis, simply plus 5k, so you can make these 2 hit Vanguard, or even make your carving shooting hit, which is very important. And in early game, if you have a like 8k right there, and you play your Mantis and plus 5k, this can be a 21k attack line. So even if your opponent's grade 2 get a defensive trigger to pump them to 20, you can still hit. And then you can pressure them first, and then use your Vanguard and see if you get a trigger to pass through if they got a defensive trigger. Yeah. And next, 4 PGs, just because they are good PGs, nothing too much to talk about. And then 4 of the Spiritual Body Condensation. So again, it's another card that you saw, so you see the importance of her and him, so that you can keep using the souls. And one of the combo that you can do is when you have 1 soul and you have this in your drop, you can play this, bring her out to become 14k, and then soul charge 2 back. Then you still have more resources to keep using. And this, as long as she's 14k, she can basically hit a lot of stuff. So not going to hurt you anymore anyway. So and if you have this card in hand and you soul blast your only soul and bring this back, and then use this to soul charge, then this can soul blast and attack, so like why not? And when you have orders, you can bring your carving shooting back, like you clear your soul, you fill in the soul, and then you can bind this order to bring your carving shooting back. Then you can do a lot more things, and like get a Mantis, so many things you can do, as long as you choose your resources to be sold. And then order, I am also using another order, so give me a quick second to get the name for you. Okay, so we are back, because my camera also kind of running out of battery, but now we're back. So this order is a new order from the set. Is in search of an ideal far away, so it looks like a Magnolia support because you can see Magnolia right here, but I find this card actually quite helpful in this deck. The skill is you choose one of your unit, and during the turn, it gets the following ability. Whenever your other units attacks, Vanguard or Regard, doesn't matter, units, for the turn, this unit will get plus 5k. So if more of your units attacks, you get more 5ks. Which is very nice in this deck, because you withstanding your Regards to attack, and you are getting multiple attacks in order to get your Flagburg to do more skills. So the most ideal target is to apply your order to your Ascending Assault, and unless you use your Harrier Burst Dragon to give ability to that unit, then that's a different story. But say this or the other unit that you gain skill with this, then apply this order to that, using them to attack first, which you know they will withstand, of course. And then, for example, this, rested, attack, done, nothing happens. And when your other units attacks, like your Aggress Blue Dragon attacks, then withstand this, and at the same time plus 5k. That's already plus 5k. And if you're using Aggress Dragon and withstand, and you attack with that again, plus another 5k. And now you have attacked it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and your Flagburg going in 4th time. So this will already plus 15k, and you get to draw 1, you retire 2, and then if you have more triggers, then you can apply to him. Then he at least is 25k. Even a defensive trigger, you can still hit, and then you attack again, right? And sometimes if you want to pump your Vanguard, you can also do that, because this card doesn't limit to Vanguard. You can choose any unit you want, and the more attacks you do, except to the unit that you attack with, or applying that skill with, you can get 5k from it. So no matter how weak your Vanguard is, unless the whole opponent front line has nothing that is 10k or below, which when you face meteor decks, that's probably happening, but at least giving you a chance to pump your power up. And if you have an Mantis, you can plus 5k to that unit first, and just let your other units attack more to pump the power. And you can you can even apply to your Flagbird. So say if you're going all out, you attack with 4 times with your regards, that's plus 20k, making him a 33k, and then you attack with your Vanguard as the 5th time, which plus another 10k, that's plus 30k, which I think is good enough without personal right, and if you have personal right, that's even more. So I find this card very, very valuable, but you probably only will use it once or twice, because I don't aim to do that much multiple attack, like that many turns in a game. So 1 is good, just in case you need, and it doesn't really matter too much if you don't, but I think it's a good tech to have. So now let's get to triggers. First, over trigger. I'm still considering, maybe sometimes I do want the generic over trigger, but there are a lot of times, especially when you are facing like a prison build, that they are so good at defending themselves, which you do want to push through with crit. So instead of having 2 big numbers that since your regard is most likely grade 2s or lower, which you can simply get stopped by one of the grade 2 that the prison build has, that they simply soul blast 1 and just guard that attack. It's like a PG for grade 2 or lower units. I want to put pressure through my Vanguard, and if I get an over trigger, and with guard restrictions and such, or even when my opponents see I'm quite weak and say like 2 parts and such, at least this over trigger is going to gain crit to your Vanguard or any other units you want to push through the damage. So I prefer having a chance to do that, and that's why I'm still using the Stoicheia trigger, over trigger. And focus on crits, so 8 crits, including the new soul in crit, so that I can increase the soul. Yet another card that fill in my soul usage, so I can just simply use that much soul blasting cards and saving the counter blast for my 3 key parts. That is Sending Assault, Harry Burst Dragon, and Flagburg. Then I can use this to soul charge, use this to soul charge, use my Trident to soul charge, and then just keep soul blasting without too many issues. Also, that's another thing that you can combo with the Aggress Blue Dragon. Say if you have 2 Aggress Blue Dragon and you only have 1 soul, so you first attack with this, then you can soul blast that out to withstand this after that, and since they are basically in the same timing, you can soul in this, so your other Aggress Blue Dragon can attack another Regard and Soul Blast that and erase that. And by doing so, you have your 5th attack without using Counter Blast. So you can see utilizing, like fully utilizing souls to get 5 attacks going a lot easier is actually quite good to have. So that is also one reason why I put so much focus on there. I see some people might think it's okay to use a little bit more Counter Blast, but probably just matters because my friends and I do know how to do damage deny sometimes, and we need to find a way to fully utilize the effects. So I do think the Soul Blast way is actually quite good to go. And free draws, because I usually, if I can do 5 attacks, I won't need the front because I won't use my Flagburg to only draw 1. If I'm going for 4th attack, which means I'm only having 1 Regard standing, so front cannot fully utilized. Even though the Trinity shield is great, but I think a little bit more draw power is better. And because it's only a 5k shield, so you don't need to worry too much and just place it out to be your booster, because your Flower Girl is only 9k, so she's not going to always hit. Your key grade 2s are 10k without some kind of 5k bomb. They can't hit anything, so you don't need to worry too much about draw trigger. Just put them down, attack. And even if you are personal riding and you don't have attacker, feel free to drop it down to at least get your 3rd attack. And then for heals, just because heals are heals, you do need heals, you do love heals. Yeah, so that's basically the trigger lineup, and I think I have basically explained how the deck works, but let's do a quick revision on some of the stuff. So key number 1, you don't need to always do 5 attacks every single turn. You don't need to force yourself to do that, because you do need to use a lot of Counter Blast and Soul. Just 1 of each is already costing you 2 Counter Blast, and if you don't have Counter Charge, you don't have Heal, you are going to running out of resources very fast. Point number 2, with your Ascendance Assault, when you ride on top with Flagburg, you don't always need to show your opponents a Flagburg in order to pull him out. You can Soul Blast 1 and pull him out, so you can hide the information you have a Flagburg. But of course, feel free to show if you think it's fine, because I do sometimes as well, but at least giving you the option to do so. And to help you fill in the souls, I have the Flower Girls. So this is yet again a soul usage focus deck, so I can save Counter Blast cost for these, which you can use so many ways to like this, like your Spiritual Body Condensation, to first use up all your souls, and then use your Flower Girl to soul charge 2 back, so you have resources for them. Yeah. And then a Mantis to tune your power when needed, and they can be brought back by Spiritual Body Condensation to be 13k themselves and pump something else for another 5k. This order is interesting to play with, as long as you know your attacking sequence. Put it on the unit that you want to attack first and give them more power, and then, or even to your Vanguard, so you can just pump your Vanguard to be kind of like a Laurel Narrow kind of playing, but without the crit. But at least if you pump the power to that high, they can't simply just drop you like 2 front triggers plus something else and say they are safe, because not every single deck play front triggers. So if they put down like 3 15k shields, pumping their Vanguard to 48, and say if you personalize already, so it's 23 plus another 10, 33 plus another 20 to 53. So 48 is not enough. So they have 45k shield, pumping them to 58, and you're 53, so it's still 1 to pass. Yeah, so that is if you are person riding, but of course if you're not, then you are at least at 33k. Baiting them 15k shields, I think is still a very good play. But you of course can also apply to units like sending assaults to even with a personal ride, you can pump him to somewhere around 25, which is not that hard. And from there, your Vanguard can still attack, and your opponents will likely going to guard your Vanguard attack too, just in case some sudden luck come in and you like double trigger to pass. Sometimes that happens, and then you can put all your focus to sending assault, which also brings to the point again. You don't need to do 5 attacks every single time, and just focus on getting 3 to 4 attacks every single turn. And if you need to go for like a win game, need to push through, then you go for 5. Yeah. So I think that's all I need to say about this deck. It's very fun. Do try it out. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah. And just comment down below so I can just discuss with you further on this. Again, give it a try. It's very interesting, but you do need a lot of time to actually feel the deck and know what you actually need to do. Because at the first, I don't actually put down a lot of regards early game to push, but I found that I'm wrong, and after that I learned so hard from it, and I start whenever I have a great one, I just go in to be very aggressive and keep attacking. Then when I go to my multiple attack turns, every single attack matters, because you guys simply just take a damage and go away with it. Unless they face like every single time they get defensive trigger, then that's another story. But that's not how we can expect and plan every single time. And from there, you will learn a lot. What is the good timing to attack? What is the good timing to use the resources? This deck teaches you so much. And even though I don't think it will be like top tier or something, but it has its potential to win you at least in like local tournaments and such, and maybe sometimes even in big events, they at least have a place to be competing and help you win some games for. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.